welcome back to another MMC episode. Now we are starting in the industrial district because we have a few things to get done, a few things to fix up before we get on with some big projects. And the first one would be the melon and pumpkin farm. So if you remember when we built this up, we brought the item output over to our villager area, but we currently only have all of the items running into a single dropper. And that wasn't enough. The items were getting all clogged and our system wasn't functioning, everything got backlogged. And so we're going to be putting in a second dropper here, as you see I've laid out. So that one half of the farm will go into this dropper, one half into this, and hopefully that should help with the influx of items. So we just have to hook this up and then our farm should be back to fully operational status. And I'm hoping that shouldn't be too hard. We just need a few redstone components and then we should just be able to hook up another automatic dispensing system. And with this little circuit here, we should be all good. So if we throw some items in, you can see that they are being dispensed into our water stream. So with our pumpkin and melon farm all situated, they are flowing into here. We are getting plenty in here. That's great, so we can do villager trading again. And the next point of business is actually to do with these villagers. So we have a bit of a mediocre setup here, and the villagers that we do have in here are pretty bad. They don't have the best trades, especially when you can choose what trade you want them to have pretty much by just resetting their trades with the lecterns. There's no reason for us to have bad trades, and we only have 5 librarians. So I'm thinking that we're actually gonna maybe reset or get some new villagers, if you know what I mean. The villagers are just gonna go on vacation for a while. Nothing wrong with that. So what I'm thinking that we're gonna do is maybe get some new villagers in here, but then also expand and make another module of our villager contraption here, because I don't think that we have nearly enough space with just 10 slots. We're definitely going to need more, so I think we'll build at least one more module right here. So let's get into a time lapse and get started. And with that, we are all done our second segment. Now there have been a little bit of change of plans. One thing you'll notice is that I didn't bend this around in a bit of a U shape. I actually just continued it out, and the reason for that, if we fly up, I think that's just going to provide more room for future expansion of this trading hall. I didn't really want to restrict myself for space. And then the second thing that I wanted to talk about is that I was planning on having librarians all the way through, which is why I put the lecterns here. But in our last episode, I talked about how I want to build up our huge big base that we're going to be working on out of quartz. And that's why we built up the gold farm and why we also are going to build up a piglin bartering system, which I still definitely want to do. I think that's a great way to get quartz. But I recently came upon the discovery that villagers, especially the mason, you can trade quartz with, which I had no idea. So, I mean, that's so helpful. It first means that we can put some villagers in and we could actually get started on our base right away. So what I think I'll do is I'll replace some of these lecterns for stone cutters, which you need for the masons, and then we can just get tons upon tons of quartz, especially now that we just linked up our melon and pumpkin farm and fixed it all up. So I think I'll replace 5 lecterns, because that way we would still have 10 librarians, which these guys are going to need to be changed over. And then I'm feeling like we're definitely going to have to expand this, because 5 I don't think will be enough for all the quartz that we're going to need, but I think this will just be a good start, just to get us going with it at least. So the next thing that we need to do is actually go and put all the villagers in place. Good news is that we have an abundance of villagers. So this has just been left on pretty much forever, and they've just been breeding. And so we have like 30 or 40 villagers here. And if you actually have been noticing, I've been hearing a villager dying sound every once in a while. And I think that's because there's actually too many crammed into that one spot. So I've actually had to turn off the farm right now, because this is a bit out of hand. But that does mean that we have plenty to fill up our trading hall. So we'll just send these guys on their way, get their trades in order. Oh, but that's not a good start. He just fell. Why would he do that? He just fell off the edge. I don't understand. And that's the thing about Minecraft. No matter how long you've been playing, villagers are never going to want to make it easy for you. It's like they have their life set out on making your experience as hard as possible. I mean, that being said, we are just trapping them here, so I mean, I don't blame them, but still. Alright, so I'm just over at the gold farm that we just built up in the last episode. And I'm just doing this because we needed some more golden apples for our villagers, but I thought while we're here, I'd take the time to fix just some of the quirks that need to be resolved with this farm. And the first being, if we come down, you can see that our filter only filters through golden nuggets. And that's just because the influx of items, we can't handle everything that gets dropped. And so this little piston here, there's a trap door. Occasionally we'll push everything else into the fire. But we just need to hook up a system that actually fires that every once in a while, so that we don't cause lag. And then that should fix that problem. And the system that we're going to use for this clock is an etho hopper clock. And so that basically just has 2 hoppers like this that'll pass items in, and then we can put a certain amount of items in to control when we want our output. And with our system now built, this should be fully operational. So I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break, go AFK here for a bit, and see how much gold we can get. And we're back. So if we take a look, after 1 hour, we got a fair amount of gold. This should be enough for whatever we need for now. But now I need to show you something. Whatever you're doing, stop, because I have something to show you. Unless you're watching this video, then keep watching. But I am in the shopping district in John Arrow's shop, and he sells these maps. And what do you look at this? I mean, I don't have enough diamonds for it, but he has these incredible map work. But this one, like Baby Yoda, that's amazing. I was just here to buy rockets, but this is crazy. Anyway, map work aside, the next thing that I want to do actually has to do with a shop. Now, I know I showed in a previous episode we had our own adventure island that I showed you, if I can find it. And I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I want to create an adventure shop. And we don't actually have really any spaces set up. I think I showed you where I mined out a bit of a spot in the previous episode, but I really want to get working on this, and I want to build up a bunch of really cool areas that people can come and go on an adventure for a prize at the end. So I think we'll collect up some items and see what we can come up with. And here we are at the start of our adventure. So I did show this previously, and we basically just have a big empty hole at the moment. But if we go down here, I'll show you what I'm planning for the first part of the adventure. So what I want to really do with this space is build up like a dungeon or a dark sort of cave. And then I'm not exactly sure what the adventurer will have to do. I'm kind of thinking some sort of like a redstone challenge, or like kind of like an escape room sort of feel. And then this will lead them, or they'll get a clue for the next section. So that's kind of what I'm going with. But I'm going to just start laying blocks down and we'll see what we can come up with. So I already have a start to it, and I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of just freehanding it, but I put up these pillars and we have a central pathway, and it's kind of looking a bit like a dungeon. I like where it's going so far, and I'm also, I'd say, doing this a bit backwards as I'm building this up, but still don't really know what the obstacle in here is going to be. But I think I'm just going to keep going with it. I think I'm going to place some leaves up tops, as I think leaves will make anything look better. And I am all out of leaves, so I just have to collect some up here and then we can get back to it. And more leaves have been added, and it's alright, not completely sure about it. I think though we need to add in some more stuff. We do need to cover up all of the granite and diorite and stuff. And I'm not exactly sure what comes next. I was kind of thinking about like curving off the edges of our walls, and then we still have to come up with something to actually, like, something that the person actually has to do, has to complete, like a task or a quest, which I'm gonna have a think about, because I'm really struggling to come up with what we are going to do. But I think we're going to take a break from that. I think I need to clear my mind, go into something else, and we'll come back to that later. And I was thinking that we could find a spot for, oh, I have no arrows. Well, what I was about to say is that we need to find a spot for our base. So here is the map of the area that we have. Now, I do know there are some other structures in here, but for the most part, this area is all, oh my goodness. But for the most part, this area is all ours to work with. So for our Parthenon, we kind of have to put it somewhere like either centered or I think like up high on a mountain, somewhere that's just really grand. And we can actually even build up some mountain around it. We could definitely do some terraforming, so we can kind of work with the landscape a bit. But I'm thinking we have a fly around, and I really like the idea of either by the coast or up on the mountains to put our building. And let's get out of here before we die from mobs. Alright, so after some looking, there's some really cool areas. So we got a bit of a mountain range here that I wonder if we could like build up on top of there. Or we have these snowy mountains. And these are like above sky limit. The only thing we'd have to make sure is that we can actually fit our building within the block limit. But there's definitely a few really nice areas over here. And I think we definitely want it up high. Like, even if we put it floating in the air, we could build the terrain around it. So I'm not too worried about that. But I definitely want it, if I can get out of this cloud, up on these mountains. I think that would be really cool and it would definitely stand out. But we're not going to work on that today. And I think that's actually all I've got time for today. I know this episode has taken a bit longer to come out, but we have got some big plans coming out. We got big base plans. We're gonna have some more farms to do, so stay tuned. And if you do enjoy these videos, then make sure to maybe like or subscribe if you're new. But with that, I'm gonna see y'all later and catch you next time.